In this video, we are going to compute the 5-number summary and we're going to graph a box plot. The data that we're going to use in this video, these are the 10 largest buildings in Cincinnati measured in feet. Our first step is to enter this data into a list. We go to Stat, hit 1 for edit. I already have the data entered in, but if you don't, you would simply enter in each value and hit enter. Our next step is to hit Stat again. We want to move to where it says Calculate by using the right arrow key. One variable statistics. We hit enter. The defaults list 1, that's where we have our data. Using the down arrow, we go to Calculate, hit enter. And in the previous video, we saw that this is the mean, this is the sample standard deviation, this is the population standard deviation, this is the sample size. Now the 5-number summary, if we scroll down using our down arrow key, we see that the minimum is 354. That's our first value of the 5-number summary. Q1, which is the 25th percentile. So 25% of the heights of buildings in Cincinnati are 372 or less, which means by the same token we can say that 75% of the heights are larger than 372. Q2, which is the same thing as the median, is 420.5. Q3, the 75th percentile, is 495, which means 75% of the heights have a height of 495 or less, which means 25% of the heights of buildings are larger than 495. And then our last 5-number summary is our maximum value, which is 665. Now we can visually look at this by what's called a box plot. So a box plot is simply a visual of the 5-number summary. It's a graph. So we hit stat plot, which is second y equals. We first need to turn it on. We hit enter. Hit enter again to turn the plot on. Using our arrow keys, we want to go down and move over, which is a box plot. Now this is also a box plot, but this is called a modified box plot, which helps us to identify outliers. We'll talk about this graph just in a minute. The defaults list 1, that's where we have our data. So our last step to graph this box plot, we hit zoom, and then we want to do zoom standard, which is number 9. We can scroll down to 9 or simply hit the number 9. And here's our box plot. So this is the 5-number summary. This is the minimum value. This line right here will be Q1. This is the median, Q2. This will be Q3, and this is the maximum. Now if you remember, just like in the histogram, this graph here gives evidence that the data is skewed right because this right tail is a lot longer than this left tail. If we hit trace, we can see the values. The median is 420.5. Q1 is 372. And the minimum is 354. Q3 is 495. And the maximum is 665. Now let's look at that modified box plot, which helps identify outliers. So if we hit second and y equals stat plot, hit enter again, change it from a normal box plot to a modified. If you notice, the mark comes up in the window. This is to mark possible outliers. I sort of like the default of this large square. so it's easier to see. So again, if we go to zoom and number 9, zoom stat, we see that in this case it's the same thing. There are no outliers. So if we go back to our original data set and let's use another value that will make an outlier so we can see the difference between the two. So if we go back to stat and then edit, these are the top 10 from Cincinnati. What if we were to add in the tallest building that will be, once it's completed in the United States? It's called the One World Trade Center. It has a height of 1,776 feet once it's complete. So let's add that into our data set. 1776. And let's see how that affects our box plots. If we go back to second and y equals, which is stat plot, hit enter again. Let's first begin with a normal box plot. Let's see how the graph has changed given this new value 1776. So now our next step is to hit zoom and number 9, zoom stat, or scroll down and hit it, and this is our new box plot. If we hit trace, here's our median. There is Q3, 574, but now we have this very large value, 1,776. So it has changed the graph of the box plot. Now let's illustrate the modified box plot. So if we go back to stat plot, this time we want to choose the modified box plot. And again, this is to help identify outliers. So if we hit zoom and number 9, we see that this is clearly an outlier to the right. This 1,776 height is an outlier. If we hit trace, here is our minimum. There's Q1, there's the median, there's Q3. This value 665 is actually what we call the fence. Anything beyond this fence will be considered an outlier. So this concludes the video. We have learned how to compute the 5-number summary and how to graph both a box plot and a modified box plot. Thanks for watching.